All right, everybody, welcome out to podcast number, let's look this up right now, 449. I'm going to talk to you about a quick little quote that I heard today that I really enjoy. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. As promised, I'm going to attempt to do more and more of these smaller podcasts to get more content out more quickly. I have to share something that was amazing. It's a detriment in my personal life, and it's also a blessing. But I heard this, and I absolutely love it. I was on a call with a client. One of the attendees for one of the courses that we're doing spoke up and said this, and I really no. This was a trade partner in a trade partner coordination meeting on a project site that I just visited on Tuesday. He said, "If you want to, you'll find a way. If you don't want to, you'll find an excuse." And so I've been attempting over the last little bit to explain this concept without much success, quite frankly. And I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. But I keep saying, run to your work, not run away. And people are like, what? Like, what does that mean? And what I'm attempting to communicate is this point exactly. If you want to, you'll find a way. If you don't want to, you'll find an excuse. And so this is a detriment in my life, and it's also a positive thing in my life. Meaning that I've always found a way. I've always figured things out. I've always read the books. I've never had to have somebody walk me through something. I've always been able to figure it out. But I'm super judgy about other people that don't figure it out, that ask a lot of questions, and I feel aren't giving 100%, which makes me judgy and irritable. Not makes me, I've chosen to be judgy and irritable, which means that in certain aspects, I'm not a very good leader. And I do it with family and others. So I'll give you an example. And I'm going to take this to a really positive point here real quick. So Reno, my son, was interested in music and music production. And so I said, Reno, can you figure out how to make this podcast music, how to get the audio recording and everything? He figured out in one of the most complex softwares I've ever used, me personally, and it's called Logic Pro. It's on Apple, and it's for music production. There's so many different things. You have to know about gain. You have to know about, I don't even know. It's so complex in the program, I can't even describe it. But the music that you hear on the podcast, my son made. I didn't pay for it. He makes music, and he figured out how to get me on a system where I can record podcasts and upload them with very little friction. He engineered those systems. He downloaded this software. He figured out how to use it. He took courses. He figured out how to get the podcast up and running with Libsyn. He figured out how to get it on social media channels. He published it to the other podcasts. He linked it. He edited it. He came up with naming conventions, best practices, keywords, search words, everything. I could just keep going on and on because he was interested and he wanted to. And then sometimes I'm like, Reno, I really would like you to send you owe so and so money from something. Reno does this job where he cleans these vans for a company. He owns his own little business kind of, and he owed somebody money one time, and I'm like, hey, I need you to send money to this person to pay them for the day that they subbed for you. Because I was, hey, you're still living in my house. At that time, he wasn't 18 yet, so I felt responsible. Oh, well, I don't know how to do it. How do you do that? Like, no, you need to get on, do this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. And then I ask him again, have you figured that out? Oh, no, I don't know how to do that, blah, blah, blah. And so bottom line is, and I'll circle back to why I'm not an a-hole and what the real point is here, but he just doesn't want to do it. My son is so smart, so capable, and so intelligent that he can create a podcast within the course of 3 weeks on some of the most complex software out there and have it work with music and create music himself in 3 weeks because he wanted to. But you're telling me you can't send $50 and Zelle somebody and that you don't know how to do it? You just don't want to. And so when I talk to companies and they're like, yeah, but I don't know if Takt planning applies to exteriors, or I don't know if it applies to civil work, or I don't know if it applies to blah, 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 or I'm having trouble with this, or blah, blah, blah. You just don't effing want to do it. Now, that sounds super judgy of me. And the lesson that I need to learn is that it's not my place to judge people, and that I shouldn't be such an a-hole sometimes. And that's the fact. And because this is a coaching kind of a podcast sometimes, I will say that for you, you need to understand that you don't do these things because you don't want to. You don't remember people's names because you don't want to. You don't have nice handwriting because you don't want to. You don't submit your expense statements and your receipts because you don't want to. You don't call your mother once a month because you don't want to. Whatever it is, you don't implement Takt planning because you don't want to. Your project isn't clean because you don't want to. Now, if you think I'm still in, mean Jason mode, hold on. Let me defend myself for just a minute. I'm not in mean Jason mode. I am telling you that there's two different realms. There's how I should act, and there's how you should act, right? I should be super charitable and not judgmental, but you should be looking at ways of how you can improve yourself. And so for me, knowing that you just don't want to might not be helpful because it's not my place. But for you, knowing and recognizing that you don't do certain things just because you don't want to is helpful, because you are in charge of coaching and improving you, right? So there's a difference between the coach and the learner. And I'm saying from a learner perspective, in a self-reflective modality, meaning if you're self-reflecting and you're thinking to yourself, if this is an issue and you want to improve, the quote, if you want to, you'll find a way. And if you don't want to, you'll find an excuse, is very, very, very helpful. So if your marriage isn't where you want it to be, if your work isn't where you want it to be, if your relationships aren't where you want it to be, if the progress on your job, the cleanliness on your job isn't where you want it to be, as soon as you want to, you will find a way. And Eric Thomas says, as soon as you want to succeed as badly as you want to breathe, then that's when you will succeed. And so that's why a lot of times we just have to get out there and go for it, right? So for business, I have no business starting a business with 11 kids and draining our financial reserves at the age of 38 when there's no certainty behind it. But when I know that the success of that business is basically what's at stake is our financial future and me being able to feed kids, now I want to bad enough. And so I'm going to find a way. So when people say, why do you grind? Why do you work so hard? Why are you always after it? Well, because I have enough leverage on this and I want to bad enough, so I'll find a way. And if you're not quitting smoking, you're not exercising, or you're not getting your wife flowers, or you're not going to church, or you're not, out there doing field walks on your project, whatever it is you want to do, you're not doing it because you don't have enough leverage. Meaning that as soon as that doctor comes back and tells you that you're going to die of heart disease in 2 months, now you got leverage. As soon as your wife says she's going to leave, now you got leverage. As soon as somebody tells you you're about to get fired, now you've got leverage. So the key is, how can you get leverage on yourself and learn to want to, so that you can find a way with anything that you're doing. And I will say the Tony Robbins program, Unleash the Power Within, the in-person or virtual event does that quite nicely. And so I highly recommend that. But I want to leave you with this quote. If you want to, you'll find a way. And if you don't want to, you'll find an excuse. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving